Alright, how's it going everyone? I know it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, and today I wanted to talk about the reason of why it's been the case, which goes hand in hand with the topic of acceptance. To be more specific, radical acceptance. But before we go any further, I want to remind everyone that these videos are not meant to be therapy, but a source of information and skill building. So if you are experiencing thoughts of taking your own life or having a mental health crisis, please reach out to a loved one or call 988 for 24/7 support. With that being said, I did try to record while setting up this new board, and I went to skate afterwards, but then I realized I didn't like the video as much and I didn't record any skating. So what is acceptance and why is it important? Not just in therapy, but in general. In radical acceptance, we learn that the world is gonna have pain no matter what. It's a fact, we can't escape it. Whether it's grief from the loss of a relationship or a loved one, whether it's fights, whether it's anger from being wronged, that pain is a fact of life. But radical acceptance says suffering is an option, in the sense that we choose to hold on to that pain rather than being able to accept that situation and let it go. Now, when I say accepting pain, I don't mean accepting an abusive relationship or accepting someone hurting you. If that's happening, obviously you don't want to stay in that situation, you want to get out. But for everything else that we can't control, we want to learn to accept it. And the things that we can control, we want to accept the situation so we can start to make the changes for controlling those things. I've worked in the field of substance use and mental health for over 4 years, or about 4 years. And one of the biggest things that we would focus on with some of our clients in therapy was the serenity prayer, which sometimes is used in AA. And that is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, we don't have to be religious to believe this quote or a phrase per se, but it is good for us to understand that sometimes there are going to be things that are outside of our control, and we have to just let that go, let go of that control and accept it for what it is, and control the things that we can. To talk about what we can or can't control, just know that the only things you can control is how you respond to certain actions and stimuli with your behaviors, with your words, with your thoughts, with any action that comes from you. Everything else, it's outside of our control. And the reason I bring it up is because we have to work with what we can. So in skating, we might come into situations where certain days we skate better than others, and other days we're not skating so hot. And part of this comes to accepting that that might not be a good day, and it's okay, rather than holding on to that frustration and pain, because then it'll cause more suffering, which leads to anger and snapping boards or throwing tantrums at the park or the street or wherever it is. So I guess what I'm trying to say with that is, if we find ourselves using phrases like, why is this happening to me? I should be landing this trick all the time. This should be easy. I don't deserve this. Then that shows that we're in a headspace of, I haven't accepted that I am not perfect and I won't land everything first try. And there will be a battle. And that's what skating is about. It's about falling 10 times and landing it once. It's about persevering and going forward. But we also have to understand what's within our limits, where acceptance comes in. I'm not going to go and jump a 10 stair if I feel like it's way out of my league, versus me trying, for example, a 5 stair or a 3 stair. Eventually, we do want to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, but some things we just have to accept. So really quick, to wrap up before we go out and skate, I want to give 2 tips that we can use to address any struggles with acceptance. The first thing before we can use these 2 tips is recognizing when we are in those situations that we're not accepting what's going on, where we're not accepting that fact of life, I guess we can say. And that is if we catch ourselves saying, why me? I don't deserve this. It's not my fault, or this person shouldn't be treating me this way, or whatever the case is, then that's how we know we're being resistant and we're holding on to that pain, causing ourselves to suffer, rather than accepting it and letting it go. Now, the first tip is using some affirmations, some factual affirmations, such as "it is what it is," or "I have no control over this," or if we want to bring it back to the phrase that I mentioned earlier from AA, it would be the Bible phrase of "this too shall pass." Or as one of my favorite movies says, Forrest Gump, "shit happens." The point is, we want to use these factual phrases or positive affirmations, I guess you could say, to remind ourselves that the situation is out of our control and we can accept it and let it go. The second skill we can use is relaxation and challenging our behavior to not react to that emotion we are facing. So instead of being angry and losing control, it's more so about doing the opposite. I do have to say, sometimes that release of anger can be cathartic, but it won't fix the situation, and it can just lead to an escalation of having more anger and then ruining our skate session. With that being said, let's go out there and skate and see if we can get something done. Alright, I've warmed up already, so I figured we can get some tricks in. Now, because I haven't skated, like I said, in the past 2 months, maybe like 4 times, today is kind of like a rehab session, try to work to get my tricks back, so I might not be doing anything new, but who knows, we'll see. So unfortunately today I couldn't land anything, but that's okay. It actually goes perfect with the topic of the day, which is acceptance. Sometimes things are just outside of our control, and I haven't skated in 2 months, like I said. So me having the high expectations of landing all the tricks I wanted to was a little bit far out there. With that being said, of course I can go back again next time and try a little bit harder to get those things. But I'm not gonna allow myself to throw an emotional outburst of saying things like, I'm just gonna quit skating or just give up. We're gonna go back out there and get it. Originally, it's not what I wanted the video ending to be like, because it's just only a few clips, but I'll finish it out by saying or talking about what really kept me for these past 2 months from skating. And that was going through a bout of depression. A lot of things were going on in my house, with my kids constantly getting sick, me getting sick, from kids getting lice and viruses, to getting another hot pocket, a friend moving away to another state, who I skate with obviously, and whatnot. And all those things just kind of started taking a toll on me. But I got to a point where I accepted the situation for what it was, and then I decided to kind of move forward and do something about it rather than just sitting around and moping. And the last one that got in the way the most, which might keep me from recording a little bit more frequently, I guess you could say, is the weather here in Texas. It is hot. It is in the hundreds. So I have to wake up really early on the weekends to try to go out and skate. So we'll see what we do with that. With that being said, don't neglect your mental health, and remember to keep skating. Don't be like me. I'll see you guys on the next one.